The finished end changeover includes taking apart, cleaning, and then reassembling the pelletizer and witty deck at ACS. What those two components do is they take the spaghetti strands that we create out of the extruder, it chops the plastic, removes dust, and then sorts it by size and puts the plastic into the boxes. The changeover is simply when you get done with one job and you're moving on to another, that time in between that you have to clean it and prep for the next job. Start by slowing down the pelletizer speed to 0. Once the pelletizer has been slowed, push in the E-stop button, turn off the witty deck, dewatering unit, and any associated blowers. Apply the proper lockout tagout to line 3 pelletizer before doing any work on the pelletizer. Open pelletizer lid. You want to undo the clamping locks for the guide plate. And then open up the feed roll section so you can view the pelletizer blades themselves. Remove old feed roller. Use compressed air and a vacuum to remove any contaminant dust and old material from the previous run. Please note, the pelletizer blades are sharp and caution must be used when working in this area. Remove the dust shields from the witty deck. Open all C-clamps, keeping the witty deck together. Remove pelletizer boot. Upon removal of the fine screen, remove both sidewalls. After removing sidewalls, remove the underside of the fine screen by using a Phillips head screwdriver. Remove all rubber balls. Then use a narrow pick and a brass scraper to remove all previous pellets from the fine screen. Remember, if there's a pellet that made it to the fine screen and you do not remove it, it could make it into the next material. Reassemble the fine screen in the opposite manner that you took it apart. Turn the air off. Going to the scale select. And then remove the scale select gate. Continue to clean the finished end as you work through from beginning to end. Remove the front of the woody deck. Blow out the pelletizer from underneath. Remove the chutes located on the rear of the woody deck. You want to remove any contamination of pellets or metal left on the magnets. After cleaning everything, reassemble the Witty deck in the opposite order that you took it apart. The water bath, remove the water bath slide leading up to the pelletizer. Before shutting down, you're going to want to select summary and then hit print on your Ackerson feeders. Move the water bath off to the side. If the extruder does contain an air knife, that's what you're seeing be removed here. Remove that first before changing the screen pack and removing the die. Remove the die by breaking loose all bolts in the die with the impact gun. Place the bolts from the die onto the die head to remain hot. Remove the die by using 2 pry bars to pull the die off and hang on to. Remember, the die will be hot. Scrape off any excess plastic left in the machine. Please know your SOC will show the correct die to use. In this instance, it's a 40 by 0.156 inch hole. Please note, die sizes are stamped on each individual die. Apply the die onto the die head. Using the T-handle, start multiple bolts into the die face. Please note, all bolts must be started with the T-handle until hand tightened. At that point, you can use the impact gun. Using the impact gun from the start can lead to stripping the die head. After loosening the bolts from the die head to the die body, use a pry bar to remove the die head away from the die body. What he's scraping now is called the screen pack. You'll remove the screen pack from the previous job by using a pry bar opposite angles to remove the screen pack. Your SLC will say that what size screen you need to use. We're using a 10 mesh. You'll bend the screen in 2 directions and then fit into the screen pack. From there, you'll scrape excess plastic from the die body. And then insert the screen pack. Then you'll want to close the die head onto the die body. And again, using a T-handle, start all 6 bolts holding the die head to the die body. It is important to make sure the die head is attached evenly to the die body, or else you will get plastic leakage. What you're watching here is the operator will do a crisscross pattern while tightening the die head to ensure that it is flush. If finding your extruder recipe, you'll look at your SOC, go to the computer recipe folder, and then search for your recipe for the next run in alphabetic order. Once the arrow is on the recipe, signified here, you'll press select. That will select that particular recipe. You'll hit load, and then DAT PLC. And then once the send loaded data box comes up, you'll press OK and wait for the light in the top right corner to show green. Once that light has shown green, you can press exit and verify the correct recipe is loaded by what is in the process recipe corner of the screen. Next, you will load your feeder recipe. You will go to the Activate Recipe button. It'll bring up your recipe file. Again, you'll scroll up or down on the arrows to the correct recipe and press OK. From here, you will want to check your recipe percentages for each feeder. Set to the correct percentage if not already done so. Check your bulk densities and configure your max feed rates. Remember, all feeders added up should always equal 100%. Before starting a run, you're going to want to prime your feeder. You'll turn the feeder on and run material until you are able to determine a suitable max feed rate for startup. If your SOC calls for it, you will use the air knife by applying it to the top of the die. You'll hook up the air hoses to either side, and once up and running, you'll turn on your air knife to approximately 25 to 30 psi. You'll place your water bath back in front of the extruder, place the purge shield on the water bath. To turn on the extruder, you'll turn on the main drive power, and you'll turn on the RPMs. You'll start the extruder to 25, and then 50, and then 100, doubling the RPM each time you go up, until you reach your desired SOC set point. Remember to turn on any side feeders and continue increasing your RPM. Once your extruder is running at the correct SOC RPM, you will turn on your system feeders. This will pour material from the feeders into the feed throat of the extruder. Please be careful as the plastic coming out of the die is hot upon stringing up. When shutting down, you'll want to stop your system feeders. And then once they have stopped feeding, you will start to slow down your extruder again in 100 RPM increments until reaching 100, and then you'll go by 25 RPM increments until hitting 0. Turn off any applicable side feeders, and then finally turn off your main drive.